Good evening and welcome to the 6th episode of the Eve Prosper Market Show. I'm your host, Lockefox, and here we are the week right before the week right before Rhea, and there are a lot of exciting changes. We took off last week, and oh man, what a week to take off. So I've got a ton of news to catch up on from the last week and stuff going into Rhea. First, some quick show news. We're still working on bringing kill data up. We finally have the database, the crawlers working, but I haven't optimized them to actually get the database this century. So still working on that. I expect some more progress over the next couple of weeks, but again, it's the holiday season, so progress will be slow over the next month just because there's so many other engagements out of game. The next thing I'd like to announce is the This Is Eve video competition that CCP just announced today. The prizes are pretty amazing. A 12-month Adobe Suite membership and 100 Plex to the winner. Makes me wish I actually knew how to make videos rather than just tune streams. So if you're a video maker, if you know a video maker, you should be getting in on this competition. It's going to be, I'm looking forward to the entries. And then the last piece of show news I wanted to bring up is we did a hydrostatic lore panel last Sunday with a whole bunch of lore nerds, and it was amazing, and it's up on YouTube, and links will be on the blog and in the YouTube tomorrow, so go check that out. It's also on the hydrostaticpodcast.com website. It was a really amazing show, and if you are a lore nerd at all, it is worth your time. So without further ado, let's go get into the real news of stuff as I run this poorly. So the big news is that I've got my stuff in the wrong order. The first thing I wanted to cover was the Confessor. I got to play with this on the test server during the hydrostatic lore panel because I was playing cameraman. And oh my god, this thing is so cool. Really, guys, it is a blast to fly. And I expect them to be outrageously expensive when they start. I expect probably 2 weeks before they settle down under the 100 million mark. They are so going to be worth it. And I got to thank Johnny Pugh on Twitter and YouTube for getting me these pictures. I tried to take pictures last night, but they aren't seated on Singularity any longer. So for those who aren't accustomed, the Confessor is the new Tech 3 destroyer, and instead of having subsystems, it has modes. And so there's a defensive mode, which is pictured now, which will up your defense and lower your speed, I think. There's the sniper mode, which increases your range and lock speed, I believe, or lock range. And then there's a speed mode, which boosts your speed. That's kind of the name of it. And this ship is so much fun to fly, and it is absolutely worth the T3 moniker. It is going to be a cool piece of tech to have in your hangar. The other thing worth noting is that if you're planning to build these, I hope you started skill training when the announcements came out, because you'll need Advanced Frigate Construction 5, I believe, and a Mars Starship Engineering 5, which are both 25-day skills. And then the other bonus here is that there is a small laser buff going out there, which helps fix some of the laser issues. And so that plus the Confessor, I think, is going to make lasers a very popular thing. Maybe take a few weeks to sink in to move the meta, but that's sort of where I'm putting my bets. The last thing worth noting is it's really tight on CPUs, so we'll get to some speculation tied to the Confessor later in the show. The next thing on the news is the end of medclone fees. So you bitter vets with hundreds of millions of skill points and 50 millionist clones need not worry. And all of you new bros who get slapped with skill loss will both rejoice. CCP put in their announcement for this that the only choices around med clones were bad ones. Either you pay ISK or you lose time, and that's not really a dynamic choice. CCP keeps teasing that there's going to be more stuff around clones, but they're really mum on real details beyond that. So just keep watching the news. The last piece before we get into major market news is there was a leak from one of the hero groups that they're coming to Caldari Faction Warfare to farm. And if you are in the drone the Tech 2 drone market, this should be good news for you. So Graviton data cores have been outrageously high, and they've stayed high. And I think most of this is because Caldari Faction Warfare has not been picking up the slack to cash out. Again, if you have Caldari Faction Warfare loyalty points, you should be cashing them out now, and you should be getting Graviton Physics cores and making out like a bandit. Because I think that's going to come to an end here in December. Now, for the part everybody actually cares about, the big news this last week, the week I could not produce a show, was that CCP has announced that ISBoxer is no longer okay. And for those who aren't familiar with it, it allows people to run multiple accounts and automate the clicking so that if you select, if you click one region on one window, it clicks the same region on a whole bunch of parallel windows. And this has been kosher for a long time, sort of that gray kind of kosher that you've seen things like the Drake fleet that's run by one guy, or a mining fleet with 47 of many kind of things in local. So this brings an end to sort of a gray kind of botting, and the market responded hard. Here we go, look at Plex, and Plex took a huge tumble because all of the extra accounts these ISBoxer guys are running no longer need to be plexed because they're either going to get banned or they're not going to be run anymore. So, as I said in the last show, this run up to 1 billion was extremely unstable. It was the hottest run up that has ever been seen in Plex as far as I can pull history. So I was expecting this slump right here down to 950, but then the ISBoxer changes hit and we took a big dump that day. And then I also predicted that we'd be seeing Black Friday, Cyber Monday Plex deals, which again, no big surprise there. And that pushed the price all the way down below 850. Now we're back on the rise, and I sort of expect if you draw a line over the last year of Plex prices, like if you just do a line of fit, that we'll be back on that line reasonably soon, and we'll be back on path to a billion-isk Plex. But I don't think we will. I think that's going to take a little longer than we all expected. I'm still charting end of January, but we'll see how it goes. There may be more announcements that change the environment leading up to FanFest. I would expect a billion-isk Plex at FanFest at the absolute least. So the ISBoxer changes also moved the mineral markets pretty heavily. So the two groups that I have traditionally seen in ISBoxer run through is for mining automation, so you can run your giant mining fleet, and ratting automation or other PvE fleet automation. So we see the loss of ISK through the Plex. So we stop seeing we see the ISK fountain drying up through the price of Plex, and then we see the material fountain drying up in raw minerals. And so the low end materials are taking it pretty hard. Tritanium is up, and it's been staying up. I think it's going to end up stabilizing around 625. And I think we'll start seeing a slow rise up into 6.5, maybe a little bit higher. But now that we have so many new bros joining the game, as they are so affectionately called, I expect the supply to match out demand, but there should be more people participating in tritanium and in the low end mineral market specifically. We see pyrite took a huge spike, but quickly popped. I still think it has room to go up. So now would be a decent time to buy. I have a hard time believing that I kind of believe the max is up around 12, but we'll see what happens over the next couple of weeks. It also makes tracking T1 stuff rather hard on my side, because T1 will track minerals basically directly. Mexilon was one of the few that didn't move, which I'm a little bit surprised about. I'm not sure what in yields is making it so that we don't consume a ton of Mexilon. It might be that it's just not being seen because of compression, but we'll see what happens there. Isogen also did a spike. It's coming back down. It's going to be a little unstable for the next week, but I expect it to stay reasonably flat. Noxium is up, and that I find rather weird. I sort of expect it to level out and fall back down to the 550 mark. And I just don't. I think that the price is a little high right now, because I don't think the high-end materials are going to stay constrained for very long. Zydrene took a huge jump, but it's taking a quick crash. So with the way it's going today, I would expect an overcorrection. So if you're in the market, go buy it and get rid of it in the next couple of days. If you're a builder, then wait a couple of days to see where it lands. And then Megasite is also taking a huge run up, and I think this is because of the nullsec mining fleets, and I think that this constraint in supply is artificial, and we'll see the price come crashing back down again. I think that the supply of high ends is still reasonably saturated, and once people get their feet underneath them again, we'll see the price come tumbling back down. But if you have access to ABC or Arcanor, Bisot, and Crocite, now might be a good time to go cash some of that in. Spend a little time watching Netflix and mining rocks. And Morphite took a decent jump up, and the volumes are up. So not sure what's going on here. Perhaps more people are coming into the Tech 2 production market to do the to participate in that market. We'll see what happens. I have a hard time charting where Morphite's going to go. Every time I pick a direction, it goes the opposite. The next one, since we're talking about mining, let's talk about fuel. Nitrogen isotopes are up slightly, but relatively flat. Again, I think this is going to have to do with the ISBoxer nerf, but I think that it's going to stay reasonably stable. It's hard to pick where it is right now. Caldari fuel is tracking reasonably flat. Nothing to report here. Oxygen isotopes, as I said on the last week's show, were I was expecting to flatten out, but have continued falling. This will be good news for anyone who produces Tech 2, because this will feed directly back into the component prices for building Tech 2. So the lower oxygen isotopes and Galente fuel go, the lower the prices for most moon components will go as well. We see that there's a spike in Galente fuel blocks, though, and that's rather odd. It's going the opposite direction. So if you can build them and you can drop them, then go make money while the hay. Well, go make hay while the sun shines. Excuse me. Next one is helium isotopes. These go into Amar towers. They continue their downward decline, and I think we're still seeing an oversupply from the Phoebe stockpiling. So I think that we're going to... I'm hoping that the price is going to level out in the 750 range, because I still think it's low, and I think it's artificially low. So again, if you can go pick it up, if you want to go build it and build it into Amar fuel blocks and hold on to it, that's a reasonably decent path to take, and you might make some decent money. Again, Amar fuel blocks are tracking the trend, just not as tightly. It'd be a good opportunity to build Amar fuel blocks. The one that was... Oh, actually, and the point I wanted to make on this is it also tripped my price flagging tools. So the price fall is rather steep, and I think that we're going to see a rebound, because this low price off the trend line is much higher than much stronger than historical. So I expect this to rebound. Hydrogen isotopes were interesting because the volumes have been going down. It tripped one of my volume flags. Again, we're seeing the prices reasonably stable. We haven't seen them go back up because of ISBoxer bans, which I kind of think is a little bit weird, but I don't really have an explanation. And Minmatar fuel blocks, I think, are not tracking the price of materials very strongly. So if you can time things, well, I think there's a good opportunity to make money in the Amar fuel block and the Amar fuel block and Minmatar fuel block markets. Next, on to the actual meat and potatoes. Let's talk about some outliers that you might be able to make some quick cash off of. One that I found interesting was that retrievers seem to be artificially low, which is doubly weird because they should track mineral prices, so I would expect them to be up from the trend line. So I think most of the action is complete here, but there might be an overcorrection upwards, so if you have the chance to build a few, this might be a good chance to get rid of them. It might also have to do with ISBoxer bans liquidating assets. I would think that those would be Mackinaws rather than retrievers, but I don't run a solo mining fleet. So one of the interesting trends I also saw was all of the dead space invulnerability fields have been going down in price. So if you have a mission rig or another pimpy rig you want to put together, there are some great opportunities to do so for not a lot of money. So it's not a great chance to make money, but if you wanted to put together something that's a piece of shiny for your personal fleet, this would be a great opportunity to go grab something shiny. Another interesting one, which I think we're in an overcorrection, is small tractor beam 2s. They hit a huge spike last week, and I don't have a good reason for that spike. According to this graph, I'm not seeing any particular constraint in supply, and I didn't see any spikes in... no. It would have tracked the titanium price, but I think we're in an overcorrection, and it'd be a great chance to buy some, like, right this second to hold on to for the weekend, because I think they're going to rebound back to the 2 million level. Again, take it with a grain of salt, but I think we're at the bottom of the trough, and I think this is a really strong opportunity to make a lot of money. The Apocalypse was another weird one. It went the opposite direction of Tritanium, which is, again, as I said before, if you're building Tech 1 products, they usually track the cost of materials. Like, there aren't many Tech 1 things that don't just strictly track the price of production. And Apocalypses went the opposite direction of the Tritanium spike. And we saw a very large, what's probably a buy volume, or actually it's probably a sell volume. So somebody was dumping a lot of these, but the price should be recovering now, and you may have missed the boat on this one, but it's worth watching if there might be an overcorrection. Another one I found interesting was that Daredevils seem to be lower than their normal average from the trend. I know this doesn't look like there's a lot of action in the price, but it's uncharacteristically low from the trend line, and I would expect it to go up. My only thing to fall back on that is that the Confessor might take some of the wind out of the Daredevil's sails. It's nowhere close to as fast, but if you're going to be a solo pirate, kitey bastard, the Confessor might be worth putting in your hangar. So we'll see how that works out against the Daredevils. So keep an eye on Daredevils is my point here. The Executor Navy issue I thought was interesting because we're below the trend line, so I expect this to bounce back. I don't know if this is because of a faction warfare cash out or what's going on to drive that. This one is another one you might want to watch. If you have the opportunity to go pick some up, it might be a good opportunity to do so, because I expect it to bounce back up to the 80 million level reasonably strong. Another interesting one, which I should have put earlier in the show, is the high wall mining implant. We saw a trough that corresponds pretty strongly to the retriever trough, which again might be people dumping positions in high-grade mining. Again, if you're the kind of guy who wants to go mining, it's a good chance to pick them up. I think the price is going to rebound reasonably soon. I think it might have already done so by today. This one was a personal favorite in the flags. If you've done any amount of missioning, you have just truckloads of Krull's DNA, right? I know when I was doing level 4 missions, you just get gallons of the stuff. And it's always been mostly worthless. And recently it's been on this price bonanza, and I don't know why. Maybe maybe it's the loot pools have been changed, and maybe there's something that actually needs them. I don't honestly know. If you have Krull's DNA, now might be a chance to get rid of some of it. Another one I found interesting was there are a couple of recons that have been doing this spike high, fall low, spike high trend. We see the Lachesis, and I didn't put the other one in here. And again, I think this one's worth keeping your eye on. If you have, this might be a good chance to speculate on them if you don't build them. It might be a chance to stockpile some pieces to build them if you can build them. I sort of want to see if this spike trend comes back in the next week. So I'm sort of 50-50 on whether this is a buy or not, but it's worth watching. Also, Tech 3 hulls have been on the up and up and up for the last few weeks. Now, the Tengu we expect, because of Black Legion's Slippery Pete doctrine, uses the Tengu to hilarious ends. And if you haven't seen, you don't understand what a slippery peat is, there's a great article about it on thematani.com where it's very hard to probe down, it's very fast, you can't bubble it, and they just get to run around and take pot shots at these really big fleets. So it's been a real thorn in the CFC's side. We're in a lull, and I sort of expect it to jump back up again as long as the slippery peat continues to be popular. So now would be a good time to buy Tengus to go sell them. I don't think that it has a ton of room to climb up, but I would have said that the last few weeks and I would have been wrong. So this, I think, is definitely worth your attention, either to build it or buy it as a speculative thing. Also, legions are up, which I find interesting because they should have less of a signature bloom, but I don't know what they're being used in. So I'm not seeing a outrageously high volume going on, but the price keeps climbing, so I don't know where this one's going. It's signaling that it's going to fall, so I would just keep this in your watch list for the next week. And the Loki, again, is on the way up. This might also be because wormhole people are holding back supply so they can churn out confessors, maybe. I'm not sure. And the next one I found interesting. So when I played with the Confessor on Singularity, I thought that its CPU was rather lacking. And though the couple of fits I played with needed a coprocessor, all of a sudden coprocessors are extremely hot. I wouldn't buy and speculate in this, but if you can build, it would be a great opportunity to build this for making some money. The next one in the Confessor speculation pot is the Deadeye Sharpshooter ST903 implant. These have been rather spiky. If you can cash out loyalty points to go get them, this might be a decent place to do so. I'd hesitate to go buy and speculate a bunch on my own right now, but if you're fast, you could probably make a quick buck. Another one I found interesting was, on a completely different note, is that P0s have been climbing in price, which is really weird because they opened up PI to trial accounts, and I sort of expected P0s to take a dump because of that, but we've seen a reasonably steady climb. And I don't know if this is because people are actually enriching them or what's really going on underneath the scenes, but there are a lot of P0s, the base planetary yield thing, that are climbing up the price. And this, I think, will drive some of the higher planetary interaction stuff, only because some people will make bad calculations. So I think it's a good time to be in PI. And then the last one, I think this is the last one, yes, is that I thought it was interesting that small ship assembly arrays are on a peak. I don't know if this is because new bros are getting more pauses or what's going on. Like, I personally would be looking at the advanced small ship array. I don't know what they're doing with the regular small ship array, so it's worth looking at. It'll drive some high-end PI. I'm not sure why it's so high, and I think the action is over. I just thought it was weird and worth highlighting. So on to the last major part of the show. We look at the last show's predictions, and I won't gloat anymore about the Plex one, even though I said that the price was coming down and that there should be a sale, and the price did come down and there was a sale. So I was totally right, and I will revel in that for the next week. I had made a mention about nanotransistors being artificially high because of the price of fuel. and we saw that they spiked, stayed high, and dipped back down, but then spiked back up again. I think that this is still too high a price, and as the fuel bubbles wash out, I think it'll come back down to the 2,500 mark. But I'll keep watching this at the end of the show for you guys. The next one that I made mention that was on the way up and was showing a buy signal was the Dragoon. I sort of gave it a wishy-washy buy signal, and then it went totally freaking nuts. It just spiked out of nowhere. So I hope you took my advice, and I'm more than happy to take 10% if you're willing to send it to Lockefox. And then it came back down again, which I just find funny. I did not expect this. I expected it to come up a couple of percentage points, make enough to be worth buying and holding and then selling, but this is insane. So I hope somebody made some money off of this. One that I should have made a call about but didn't, and this might have been because our price tools weren't configured yet, was the Astero has been on a steady climb. It looks like it's leveling off. And again, it could fall if people go do the PVE required to go generate these things. I don't know if this is hype for Thera, or if this is just generally a cool meta has arisen, or what's going on here. I should have highlighted it. I didn't, so mea culpa. And the other one I should have highlighted, because it would have been an amazing opportunity this week, is the Macarial was on a tailspin the last couple of weeks. And right now I think it's rebounding, so if you have a chance to pick it up, now might be the cheapest chance you get. I don't know if this is because of a change in incursion meta or what's driving the crash. But Macarials hold a special place in my heart. They're one of my favorite ships. So this one, again, might be worth watching. I hesitate to call it a buy, but it's much lower than it's historically been. And I don't know why. I kind of expect it to come back. And then I don't have a violence report because I'm still working on getting that data locally. Again, thanks everyone for tuning in this week. You can catch the show live on Twitch at HLibIndustry. You can catch it on YouTube the next day at youtube.com/EveProsper. You can catch the blog at eve-prosper.blogspot.com, which I should get a real domain name for. I'd like to remind everyone about the recent hydrostatic podcast news, that we did a lore podcast last Sunday, and the Children of Light contest is still open, where we're trying to figure out how to trigger the Children of Light phenomenon in I want to say Aaron Euster, but I don't think that's it. Again, all of you guys, your support is great. Feel free to contact me in-game at Lockefox, on Twitter at HLibIndustry, through Twitch, subscribe, do all the great stuff, and I will see all of you next week. Be sure to keep tuning in if you're watching live, because we'll go do Q&A for about half an hour about the show or about market stuff that you guys want to talk about.